Hey, here's some highlights from a fun session I did with Warren Huart. For the full version, click the link below and check out the Masterclass. Warren has Produce Like a Pro. It's a really great YouTube channel. You should check it out. He also has the Produce Like a Pro Academy. The link for that is down below also. This cabinet is now the Bogner 112. The design is the same.
Is it really?
Yeah. And so you can buy this from Bogner. The great thing about it, it's sealed back and it's tuned and ported. There's a hole right here. There's a port. And what this cabinet does, it has a really tight bottom end and it sounds like a 412. And I have one that I take the back off of, and you can really hear the difference. You really can, you know. So this thing, it's a little bit beat up. I have Bogners too, and they're identical. And it's a vintage 30 in it, Celestion vintage 30.
Vintage 30.
Yeah.
Which seems to be, wherever I ask any guitar players, that always seems to be their go-to. I always thought it might be the 25.
It's either or, but I've always liked that top end. I can dial it back. I mean, we could move the mic just over that way a little bit, and it would get darker. But I like to have a little sparkle available, and it seems to give it.
I'd rather have it there and take it away than not have it there in the first place. Yeah, no, I think that's great. It's interesting because I always thought it was going to be the 25s, but I had no basis in that.
I think another way to describe it is the vintage 30 is more modern sounding, and the 25 is more vintage sounding.
And we've got a 57, a good old-fashioned 57 on it.
It's a good thing to work with, yeah, I guess.
Are you double micing in your place?
I have mic combinations, but the 57 is always there.
Yeah.
With the way I describe it, 57 is the mid-range fist.
Yeah.
A mic like that, put it on there, and you get kind of a pillow around it. You can dial in some body and warmth with another microphone. But I have several. I have a Royer 122V, which is a tube ribbon that I dial in along with the 57. I have a Sony C800, which kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
Want to try some new mics too.
Yeah.
You know? But
well, the 122Vs actually, we had one of those with Joe Perry, and hey, we're in the academy here. Let's just say Joe's a little older and has played many, many loud gigs.
Gotcha.
So his guitar tone is like the brightest thing I've ever heard in my life.
All right.
I put a 57 on there, and it was so bright. It was really, really bright. And I didn't want to mess with Joe Perry's guitar sound. He has a guitar sound he loves.
Yeah.
So Royer gave us one of those 122Vs to try out, and they are so beautiful on the top end. They're really dark and warm.
Yeah.
And it was like just a perfect combination with
that's great.
super, super bright amp. Stick the 122V on there. It just took care of the top end, pulled out on faders. Everybody was happy. He was happy. He was in the room enjoying it. We were happy.
That's great.
You know, it's one of those things you learn. I'm not going to lean into Joe Perry's guitar amp and start adjusting it when he's got his sound up. But
it's
the
like
right mic.
It's like telling Eric Clapton what to do. You wouldn't do that. You would never do that. Yeah.
Not going to happen. But.
Yeah.
And look, here's another thing. This is important. If you are a guy if you're engineering and producing, from my perspective, and Tim has a way of doing things, listen to your artist. You know, you come out, if you didn't like that mic position, you tell me it doesn't work, I'm going to listen to you, because that's your cab.
Yeah, I generally put it straight on.
Well, how would you like it?
Well, the thing is, I like the way it sounds in there, but the way I generally do it is like that.
Right.
And
well, let's try that.
Yeah, we'll try that.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the point. It's like it's. I say this all the time. It's acquired knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, there's no substitute for it.
And then guys like you and I, we know that we need to be open because we can get set in our ways, and that's why I left it the way it was. Is because I don't ever want to close. I want to learn new stuff every day too. So.
Yeah, well, that was the Dave Jordan thing. He always had this thing about. In fact, actually, to do it Dave's proper way, I would have done this. Because what Dave...
Interesting. Oh, that looks
Dave
good.
Said,
yeah, of course.
Dave's theory is if the cone is like this, you should be hitting it so that because they're basically, you know, a dynamic microphone and a speaker.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing in reverse. So his theory is like, you know, they should be opposite.
Well, yeah, and so my perception that this is straight on the speaker is not really true because the speaker is angled. Yeah. The paper is angled. So that actually is straight on the speaker, on the paper.
That's the Dave Jordan thing.
I just learned something.
Well, let's do the Dave Jordan way, and if you don't like it, we'll change it. I think and then there's also the reality when you're tracking guitars super loud. I can't remember who said it. I think it was Jim Scott, who's smarter than I'll ever be. Jim's like, you know, within 2 inches, it's not going to make a huge difference.
Good for him.
When he's got like massive, you're pushing out so much air, You know,
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean. It's
yeah,
like, oh yeah. I think I just got 0.3 of a dB at 5K, you know.
Yeah, the cabinet is obliterating a microphone that's the size of a quarter.
Yeah.
So where you move it is,
Yeah.
right, I get it.
You know Jim. Jim just sort of comes up,
Yeah.
plugs in the mic, goes in there,
Yeah.
and you're like, wow, great guitar sound.
Yeah.
How did you do
Yeah,
that?
he's one of those guys.
Yeah, he's been putting a mic in front of a guitar cab for like 40 years, making Tom Petty records. So, you know, yeah.
So I'm telling you the truth. So put your head on my shoulder. You can hold on my sleeve. I will be the only one that you'll ever need. You and me could be forever. Stars out above. I swear I've been waiting for you all my life. So put your head on my shoulder. Keep your heart on my sleeve. I will be the only one that you ever need. You and me could be forever if the stars are above. I swear I've been waiting for you all my life. And nothing left to say is now or never. It's now or never.
So we've got a BAE 312B. Those of you that have already seen the Glenn Fricker interview I did with him, he's doing like heavy rock and he likes APIs. I think a lot of engineers I know prefer APIs or API style. Sorry, BAE, I know it's an API style. They prefer them because the transients are super fast. Great on guitars, great on drums. Anything potentially percussive. The only thing I will say with an API style preamp, especially the old school ones like this, is there's always it's a hard time to get the balance, because if I take the pad out, I'll be on like 0 and it might clip. If I put the pad in, suddenly I've got a lot of movement and you feel like, you know, I think some of the more modern pre's give me a little bit more variation when it comes to it, but ultimately at the end of the day, a 312, this is one of the modded ones that Mark Laughlin makes over at BAE. I'm not sure on the exact mod, we can put a link to it and you guys can read about it, but it does sound particularly fantastic on guitars. You know, I'm a huge Neve style 1073 fan, everybody on the planet is, but I realized that a lot of my misconceptions about between England and America, Americans were sitting listening to English bands going, wow, these English bands sound so great and so different. And we were sitting in England going, wow, these American bands sound so great and so different. And so all we did was steal from each other. And then you find out that some of the best Zeppelin records after the first 2 or 3 were actually recorded in America, recorded like Sunset Sound and United and, you know, Western Recorders. And they were recorded on API and Spectrasonics consoles. And even the Stones were recording their big 60s stuff in Memphis. So the English sound was actually a lot of American stuff. Pink Floyd, for instance, did a lot of Dark Side of the Moon. They did a lot of it, you know, if you watch the behind the scenes, they did do a lot of it in Olympic, but they also did some of it in LA. And they were using APIs. And so I opened myself up to a lot of stuff when I came over here, and I realized that all my preconceived ideas about, you know, bands and the way they recorded just all went out the window. You know, especially the New York stuff. Because I thought, you know, I didn't realize that in those days, in the 60s and 70s, that the difference between New York and LA was like they were polar opposites on how they recorded stuff and the way they did it and the equipment they used and the ways they EQ'd stuff. And then, you know, throw into the equation, without going off on a huge tangent, like Stax or, you know, Philadelphia, Atlantic, you know, Chicago. Everybody had different studios, different equipment, different musicians, and the sounds were so different. So, not knowing anything about API, assuming that everything in England was every English band was recorded in England. I came over here, I heard an API for the first time, and I'm like, wait there, that's the Jimmy Page guitar sound I've always wanted. Anyway, so it's going from that, the 312, into, and this is completely because of Jack Douglas, a Spectrasonics. The Spectrasonics, they made consoles, they made compressors in the 70s and in the record plant. all of the Toys in the Attic, all of Rocks and all that stuff was all done using Spectrasonics compressors. There's something about this that's just really spongy. You have a Spectrasonics, don't you?
No, I don't.
It has a really spongy kind of compressed sound. It's the best 70s sounding one I know. I've also got their Pre's as well. I like their Pre's, and a lot of people swear by them, but there's just something about this compressor that just seems to be magic. When it barely works, it sounds amazing. So, and all of the recent rock stuff I've done, when we had Ace and Slash and all those guys coming over in John 5, when they all came over and tracked, they all just love this combination. And it's literally just a 312 with a little tiny bit of compression occasionally on that Spectrasonics. And a 57. God bless it. That's Dave Jordan, And it makes sense. He would, with the open bag cabs, because he really likes AC-15s and AC-30s. So he has his cone like this. And with the open back, so he has one 57 like this, and then on the open back, the other one comes in like that, and he flips the phase. So he has these two mics with your cone, like exactly opposite.
Wait, I
flips
gotta
the
try
phase.
it. I have to try it.
And it's like that big Alice in Chains guitar sound.
Yeah, I know I'm in love. Should I keep on trying, baby? It's just time and where I am. I know I'm in love. Does the world stop spinning? Is it just a feeling where I am? I know I'm in love.
Fantastic.
Cool.
I'm happy with that.
Me too. For me, I like boutique guitars because they just play in tune better. And you're right. When I want to shred this, I can go faster on this thing than I can on one of my old Gibsons.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and just from a guitar playing point of view, I love the matte finish. I love feeling like I'm playing a guitar that's been played for years.
Yeah.
It's so smooth.
Yeah.
Are these elixirs?
They are. Yeah.
Yeah, there's another thing. Elixir strings are the best.